Hello, welcome to Fishing, Foraging and Outdoor Adventure. In this video I'm going to show you how to tie some fishing rigs. In particular, these ones are for catching cod in fast flowing rivers. Tomorrow I'm going to be on the River Mersey. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to tie a rig. So I've made three up here. So we got using big hooks because we're going to be using big baits. When I say big baits, I'm talking 3 or 4 black lug wrapped in a squid, something like that. That's the size of bait that we're going for. So 3/0s and 4/0s are perfect for what I'm going to be using. So just to show you how I make them, you could go as low as £30 amnesia, £40 perhaps. With it being quite rough ground in the Mersey, I'm going to go for £50. It's really not a tactic of fishing that you need to scale down for. There's not an awful lot of finesse required. So a rig like this is going to be £50 line, big strong 3/0s, 4/0s or even 5/0 hooks are perfectly ample. We're going to use snap links, we're going to use big barrel swivels, some fairly chunky beads to go with it, and the sliders which we use to hold the leads in place. Because on occasions, quite often, I find it best to use 2 leads, 2 average size leads rather than 1 big one. I'll show you why later on. So to start off, I'm going to take around about 18 inches or so of line, £50 line, and trim that off. Okay. So that's what we've got. So this first bit of the rig, I'm literally making just a section for the slider to go up and down. It'll have a bead either end, a swivel and a snap link. Swivel, 2, 3, 4, through. Big thick lines, £50 class line. No need to wrap it around too many times. 4 times is generally enough on that. Get a bead. Beads are purely to protect the knot. Then one of these sliders. Another bead. And then opposite end, snap link or link snaps. Much easier to make these rigs up in the warmth and comfort of the house rather than making this on a swaying boat in the freezing cold in December. So there's my little link. So that there, I'll trim the tags in a minute. I've got a little snap link there, I've got a swivel there, and that is purely just to take the lead. So now you want about an arm's length of line. So take it out, pinch it around about your armpit, cut it off, and now all we're making is a pennel trace, again on £50 line. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the opposite end now. I like to use big Sakuma hooks. So these ones here, I got a 3/0 and I got a 4/0. The reason I do that is I like to have a slightly smaller hook up the line. I don't feel it's necessary to have such a big hook for the end of a pennel rig when it's literally just nicking through the end of the piece of squid. Nearly all that hook is going to be exposed, so you can get away with going a size down. So for the hook that goes up the line, and use a 3/0, and for the hook at the end of the line, and use a 4/0. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Trim all the tags. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now we put the two sections together now. So we get the link, go through the swivel, and there's our rig. This first end now will attach to my braid. I'm going to use £30 braid tomorrow. This here is my link there. It will move up and down. And what I do is I put two leads on. So I put a gripper on, and then behind it I put a small plain lead. Reason for that, when the tie's pulling hard, the line can be pulling up, especially when you're on a boat and you can sometimes be fishing in a more vertical position. If this is getting pulled up by the current, it can quite often lead to these leads tumbling. So what I find is, when you've got a smaller lead, it pins the back end of that down and it helps these grippers to dig into the bed. Off that now, I've got the flowing trace, two good size hooks, not over the top, 3 O's and 4 O's. It's a good size hook, but it's not overkill. Some people use 6 O's. I'm quite happy using 3 O's and 4 O's. So those together in a pattern like that are going to give me a good chance of hooking up with a cod, should one take my bait tomorrow. So I'm optimistic about tomorrow. We're right in the thick of winter. It's 23rd of December tomorrow when we're going fishing. I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm getting picked up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'll be fishing from 3:30. So a nice early start. Let's hope for some fish. I went on the same trip about a month ago. It was a little bit early for the cod. They hadn't really arrived in great numbers at the time. I had a couple of thornback rays. Both quite a nice size. So I'll show you the video of how I got on with the thornback rays, then I get straight into the cod fishing in the Mersey. Hello, welcome to Fishing, Foraging and Outdoor Adventure. Today's video we're going in the Mersey. We're going to be doing a bit of uptiding, a bit of downtiding. We're going for the cod, we're going for the thornback rays, maybe the usual bycatch, whiting, dabs, things like that. But we're out on Bad Boys 2, Aaron's new boat. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's been hammering down all the way here. Snow, sleet, hail, rain, everything. So let's hope for some good fish.
So we got up really early in the morning to get fishing, and then as soon as we started, we were catching and probably starting to drown in these whiting. And I think this was the best fish of the day. This was me reeling in our spiky friend, the thornback ray.
Another ray.
That was a really good fish, and you can see how much I'm fighting to bring him in. It was really hard, and probably one of the biggest fish I've ever had. We use the net to bring the fish onto the boat here. I didn't actually hold the thornback ray because of the big thorns, and I was a bit nervous because it's my first one I've ever had. We don't weigh it, but it was about £6 we think. We used the T-bar to get the hook safely out its mouth, and then back it went into the river. And then we got back safely, and because I caught the biggest fish of the day, I got to sit in the captain's seat.
Okay, so a couple of weeks have passed since the trip where we caught the Thornback Rays. That one was with Lewis. On this trip, me and Mike go on another trip on the same boat on the same river, but as the seasons change, so do the fish, and in brings the cod. So as I said at the beginning, this is 23rd of December. This is, real good time of year for the winter cod. So when you went from beginning of December to about February is your traditional cod fishing season, and we were lucky enough on this trip to get a few cod.
Nice big belly on it.
Oh yeah.
That's big. Full. See your lamp on.
Okay, so this is how I bait up when I'm uptiding. I get 3 lugworm, fold them over double, and I wrap them together in like a sausage shape, making a lugworm sausage. The reason I do that is because an individual lugworm, especially once it's been frozen, which we tend to use a lot of frozen baits when you cod fishing, tends to be like bootlaces, and it's really hard to get them on your line. So bind together, 3 of them folded over double, 6 bootlaces thick, makes it quite a good bait for sticking on the hook. Next, I've tipped the end hook with some calamari, and you can see I'm wrapping the line around the hook, and then I'm nicking that second hook straight through the bottom. And again, I'm tipping that bottom hook with the calamari also. And once that bait's on the hooks there, all I do is I get this really useful tool, this elastic dispenser. I wrap it around the outside, making sure that the squid is on the outside of the lug, because that obviously gives a little bit more protection from the crabs. A few turns of bait elastic, and that's my bait ready to cast into the water. And really important, guys, just spend a couple of seconds every time you bait up, just check your hook points are exposed and then not covered by any of that calamari. Okay, so we're uptiding, so as the name suggests, light cast, uptide, and then I leave the clutch on free spool. I stick it on the rod rest, and I just watch the line peel off. It's pulling off really quick, but I just watch it for at least 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, plenty of lines out, by which point I engage the gear on the reel and watch the rod tips pull round now. That's it, we're uptiding. Didn't take long, that bait had been in the water literally a couple of minutes, and into my first decent fish.
Come on, get 2 pounder, come on. Do you have a bite then, do you? Oh.
Your rod's been going.
That's it? That one, that's it. You go. Live bait rod gone.
You can see nice bend on this rod. I can tell it's a decent fish straight away. This is a 20 to 30 pound class rod with a 30 pound braid, as I said I was going to use. So I've got plenty of, I've got the tools to be able to give it a bit of stick if I want to, because it's rough ground fishing in the Mersey. But equally, we're trying to make the sport, and we're trying to tire the fish out. We're trying to bring him in, and we're trying to make it fun.
Very nice fish, isn't it?
That's gone off, Pete.
It's just the screen going to sleep. Fucking hope so.
Let's fish this one, Pete. No pressure, come on.
It's either short
Take it easy.
and fat or it's a good fish. Start walking yourself back a bit. Nice and easy. Oh, really good. Thanks, Pete.
Slowly, walk back, Pete. Slowly, slowly. Ooh. Yeah! Right, I don't know if that's recording, Pete. You have to see.
Let's keep it going.
It's a grey one. It is, isn't it?
Yes. Other side. Use 5. Oh, easy. 6.
I'll weigh it now in a minute, Pete.
Hold any further out there. I get a picture of it without Pete.
Just hold that and I'll get the scales. Here, Pete. Hey.
Try not to grab it, tuck your fingers in, hold it a little bit further up here.
So you got it.
There you go, belly, that's it.
So when picking fish to take home for the table, you want to consider, firstly, is there enough meat on a fish to make it worthwhile taking home? Is it within legal size? And on the opposite extreme, is a fish good enough size that it's actually one of the big breeding stock fish that you don't really want to be taking either? So I think this at £5.12 is about the perfect size to be taken home for the table. It's a decent fish with plenty of meat on it. It can feed me and my family of 4 quite comfortably, and for probably 2 meals each. But equally, you're not taking a big breeding fish that is likely to be one of the breeding stock fish for future generations.
£5.10 it is.
Okay, so that first fish, as you've seen, went to frozen black lug, 3 of them with calamari bound onto the same bait. So if something works for your first time, I'm more than confident to try it again. There's nothing to stop you experimenting, but generally if you've got a bait that you know works, I tend to stick to that. So the 3 lugworm have gone on, they're bound together with the bait elastic, and the calamari's gone on after. So this little bait dispenser that I told you about, really useful tool. It's obviously not done my hands too much good for keeping them clean, but it does help try and reduce the mess, and it stops all the smell of your baits getting into your bait elastic and making everything smell so much. So quickly bind it on, get all that nicely tight around the shank of the hook, leaving your hook points exposed then. Second hook, sliding that up the line there now, and you give that a couple of twists around the line, and that keeps the second hook firmly in place at the tail end of the bait. That bait's nicked through the end and I've cast it out. Yet again, this bait had been in for just a few minutes, and again I'm into my second codling of the session. An essential piece of kit whenever you're fishing on boats, from the beach, from the rocks, wherever, is a T-bar. Like you can see Mike there with a T-bar, he's getting that bait out from right down its mouth. Really important, especially if you plan on returning any fish. another prime Mersey cod, £3 on the nose, beautiful fish, perfect size for eating. So amongst the whiting and the dabs and the thornback rays of the previous session, these couple of cod were great catch and a real enjoyable part of my season's fishing. As you can see, nothing from what I've done to catch these fish has been particularly tricky. It's basic rigs, it's basic equipment, and it's just big baits cast into fast flowing water of the River Mersey.
£3.
Okay, so that's the end of the session. We had 2 codling, we had 2 thornback rays on the previous session, we had dozens of dabs, we had hundreds of whiting, and it proved to be a really productive session. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up, a like, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out. Thanks for watching, I'll see you on the next video.